Coldplay with Ghost Stories. And I know what you're all thinking, ugh, Colby, you like Coldplay? How dare you? But yeah, I'm just gonna say it here and now, I like Coldplay, like quite a bit, especially some of their earlier work, and I figured I'd check this album out and tell you all my thoughts about it. So when you look at the visual album that Coldplay sent a link for on iTunes, it's actually pretty interesting looking. It's like Monty Coldplay's Flying Circus when you see the actual theme of the like the visual, so to speak. They have some pretty weird visuals. It's like exactly as I said. But we're not here to talk about visuals, we're here to talk about the album, the music. So, musically speaking, this album is a lot less, like, rock-oriented in nature than any of their previous material. It relies a lot more on electronic elements, more so than albums like Rush of Blood or even the previous album, which itself relied on a lot of electronic material. But like in the background, you could still at least hear like natural organic drums as you see in the background right there. Um, with most of these songs, you mostly hear like electronic beat. I've seen in the title credits that there may have been drums, but you don't really hear it. It's mostly just an electronic beat. I think there's only one song on this album, and it's a bonus track, the title track, Ghost Stories, that actually has like regular organic drums as you see right behind my shoulder. I think that's the only one in which you could clearly hear its organic drums. Everything else is like an electronic beat. Some lyrics can sound a bit simplistic and rushed, like got a tattoo and the pain's alright. But you can tell that the band at least stands by their lyrics confidently enough. Like they have no shame in what they've written, which you could kind of tell by Chris Martin's kind of confident, smooth vocals, which pretty much work to the song's advantage. I mean, it's only like a few moments here and there. I mean, yeah, the lyrics are pretty simplistic, but I mean, they kind of work in their own way. It just kind of depends. That was just one of the few moments which I thought kind of sounded a bit cheesy, but what can you do? The general mood of the album is typically kind of slow and downbeat, if you will. Probably as a reaction to the previous album that they made, Milo Zolato, which had songs like Hurts Like Heaven and Paradise, which are very optimistic, upbeat sort of songs. Although Sky Full of Stars actually sticks out like a sore thumb because it's really like the only like arena club shaker kind of song on this album. And I mean, not that that's a bad thing. It actually comes at a pretty appropriate time in the album where it kind of works. But I mean, at first, I actually didn't really dig the song too much because I don't know. I felt it sounded more like an Avicii song than a Coldplay song. Which, yeah, I know Avicii actually plays piano on this album or on this song. I still think it's yeah, I mean, at first I didn't really like it, but I mean, it kind of grew on me, and now I dig it quite a bit. It's better than the last collaboration that they did with Rihanna. That was just atrocious. From Milo Zolato, Princess of China. That was just terrible. But I think this collaboration here with Avicii is actually done a bit more tastefully. The album as a whole really seems to be taking like many different directions all at once. You go from like a stripped down acoustic sound with a song like Oceans, then you go to like a traditional pop sound with a song like Magic, then you go to like an ambient trance sound with a song like Midnight, then you go to like a progressive house electronic dance music sound with a song like Sky Full of Stars, which I just talked about, which may seem kind of weird how there's just all these different directions kind of bombarding against one another, but it's still like a nice cohesive listen. You can get through this album pretty easily. I mean, it's only about 40 minutes long, so it's actually pretty short by their standards. They've written a lot longer albums than this. and it's still got some good diversity and flow. The album might seem like a compilation of different sounds that Coldplay is experimenting and going along with. It might not really seem like that there's a real cohesive, uniform direction that this band's pursuing for the entirety of the album, but I think it kind of works in its own unusual way, just how these different sounds kind of interact and bombard with one another. And this is coming from a guy who's listened to a lot of progressive music. I mean, this is a Pink Floyd shirt I'm wearing right now. Listen to a lot of prog metal that definitely seems to combine, different styles and stuff like that. But I mean, somehow when they do it, it like combines into a full cohesive direction that they want to pursue. With this album, it seems a bit different. It's like there's different ideas going off all at once, which I think it kind of works to this album's advantage. Like the album's called Ghost Stories, so maybe like the different sounds of each song seems to represent a different story. So in that way, it actually kind of works. The way I think. For the fans that strictly like the first couple of records from this band and nothing else, this probably won't convince you to return at all. Although there are a couple songs that you might like, specifically the Oceans, O, and the bonus track Ghost Stories, which is the title track, of course. They might remind you quite a bit more of like the parachute sound that they once had. Whether you see this as like the last gasps of a once great band or potential for further material in the style that you love, that's all up to your interpretation, of course. Though this doesn't really come close to coming near albums like Rush of Blood to the Head or X and Y for many people, myself included. But just on its own, it's still quite nice, and I never expected it to come close to those albums anyway. So it's not like I was truly disappointed. Um, yeah, it has its fair share of good songs, with a few meh-worthy songs here and there that don't really make much of an impact, like Always in My Head, True Love. I don't think those songs really did much for me. As much as I strained myself to really like get into it, I don't know. They kind of just passed by without much of an impression. But I mean, it's not too bad. It didn't feel like insulted the same way I did when I first listened to Princess of China. Um, but yeah, overall, I like this album better than the last album, kind of. Um, Princess of China was enough to just not make me want to buy the album, though there are some good songs on that album. I think I might buy that album eventually and just skip Princess of China. Overall, I'm happy with the purchase that I made. I mean, I have yet to have actually received a copy of the album, but I pre-ordered it, so it should be coming pretty soon. Um, yeah, definitely buy the album if you're a Coldplay fan. Don't just download it or anything like that. I know there's a lot of fans out there that are pretty young, that maybe are like 14 years old or something like that. But I encourage to actually just buy the album if you like the band with your hard-earned cash. Don't just download it. Like I've said that in a lot of my reviews for like more underground releases. I think the same thing should apply to more mainstream releases like Coldplay as well. So definitely do that if you're into this band. And if there's one edition which I say you should get the deluxe edition, because like the bonus tracks that are on this album, like I think are better than the like are some of the regular songs on this album. So yeah, I really liked All Your Friends and the title track, of course. Like the title track is actually a bonus track for some reason, and I think that's a very well done song. And yeah, definitely get the deluxe edition. Like it just feels more complete when you have the bonus songs to me. Just with the regular track listing, it felt a little like it felt just a bit lacking. But with the bonus tracks, it just feels more complete. Like overall, I'd give this album about a I'd say about a 7.5 out of 10. But that might be a little bit generous because like I gave it like a little bit of a boost because of the bonus tracks. Like if you took out the bonus tracks, it probably would have ranged from like a 7 to a 7.25. But just with the bonus tracks, I'd give it about 7.5 out of 10. So there you go. If you're into Coldplay, definitely check out this album. It gets I give it a thumbs up, and yeah, thank you very much. I'll see ya.